Hello, this is a manga review for chapter 13 of The Promised Neverland, titled Spy Part 3 or Traitor Part 3 in the English version of the manga. Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't read the escape arc of the Promised Neverland manga series, then please skip this, as I will be discussing relevant plot points that are happening in chapter 13. When I first read chapter 13, I tell you, I did not expect that Ray was the traitor or he's the spy. I didn't totally expect that. I thought it was Dawn, and then my expectation shifted to Gilda. That was so genius writing for Kaya Shirai. No wonder the escape arc is the best, in my assumption, in my perception. The escape arc is the best because it has a psychological warfare or mind warfare, mind game between Emma, Norman, Ray, or particularly in this chapter, Norman and Ray. I love the dynamic between these two, and no wonder Kaya Shirai, in future arcs or in future chapters, he set up the almost like the same psychological warfare between two people or among the friends. In this chapter, it's Ray and Norman who are battling their wits against each other, trying to find out the motives that the other person has. In the later arcs, it's gonna be flipped because we know that Ray turned over a new leaf and Norman is like the Grim Reaper, half devil, half god on chapter 129. Anyway, moving on. I love this chapter. I really didn't expect. Posca de Mizu just draws the sinister smiles on the characters. Like Shigure. Shigure from Fruits Basket has this faint, weird, sinister smile that she drew because we know that Shigure is like half antagonist, half protagonist. And in this arc with chapter 13 Promised Neverland, we know that Ray is acting as a double agent, but I still love the way Posca de Mizu and Kai Shirai draws the art and the style about the tick-tocks, the clock ticking back and forth as Ray is being confronted by Norman as he is the spy. I really love that in the anime because of the color schemes and the sounds as if you are being watched over, or it's as if the first person view where you're being watched over in the anime. The ticking talking of the clock, of their clock that's in the orphanage, really tells me that the tension is there, and it heightens that tension in the anime. In the manga, it's revealed in the panels how the atmosphere is being felt. I really love it. The way that the chapter cover art was drawn, there was a demon at the back, and Mama and Isabella and Sister Crone are also drawn, and Ray is the only child in there. Really goes to show that it shows the reader that what if he is one of them. That really shocked me when I first read this chapter in the manga. But I really love that that cover chapter art where the slogan is saying "Betrayal always lurks close by." I was really disappointed with Ray at that time, but now he's one of the best boys in the manga series, so he's well loved, he's popular. So moving on, I really love how these kids are only wearing white shirts, white pants, white everything in the escape arc. Really goes to show that Kaishuai planned all this out. That's like their jail clothes, and I think that's the resonance or the communication that he is trying to give to the readers. So there's an explanation here how Norman managed to eliminate all the others, Don and Gilda, into figuring out whether they're the spies. And to the process of elimination, Norman figured out that it's Ray who is the actual spy. I love how Ray is he just fall off on the bed and then just laughs maniacally and really has that bangs of his with like covering one of his eyes. Goes to show that he really is that suspicious character that the mangakas drew just to set up his frame of mind. It really just shows in the art style. His hands, the way that his hands are drawn, body language, the way that he's sitting just goes to show how maybe when you're talking to him, you can feel somewhat inconvenient, like look how he is crossing his legs. Like, it really just goes to show what kind of person he is. And so it's revealed that Ray is the spy. He's been passing sources or information to Mama Isabella. And then there's another flashback where Norman is shown to have figured it out the day or the night that Sister Crone came into the house. And I think that's back in chapter 6. There are several scenes of Norman where he has that cold, soulless look. And there were some scenes where that he is smiling faintly because he's suspecting his friend. And then these are very, very good dialogues between them. I'm also scared of Norman. I don't know who I'm scared most of, the traitor who is been revealed as Ray or Norman, because we know that Norman at the later volumes, he became a genocide Norman, or he's like the person who wants to exterminate all the demons. So it really goes to show that people change a lot, even though it's just going to be 1 year, 2 years, 12 years that you're being confined to a facility like Lambda 7214 and being experimented upon, being asked to take drugs. It's just going to make shift your mind. So it explains in this chapter how Norman's looking at Ray, confronting him that he's the traitor. It really explains how he has been setting up this plan or this trap just to expose who is the traitor. I love that one scene in the manga where he's standing up asking Ray, was everything a lie? And then panels or flashbacks where the day that they told Ray about the demon world, he's not shocked at that time. And it's just a beautiful dynamic between Norman and Ray. Black and white. Ray has black hair. Norman has white platinum blonde hair. And Norman's looks are scary. Even though he has this angelic face, the way that he's showing anger really scares you. I love how Kaio Shirai mentioned in an interview once that he loves people who are characters like Calvin or Kevin from the Home Alone. Calvin McCulkey, I think that's his name, McCulkey. Well, in Home Alone, he's shown as this angelic face, but deep down he's really cruel or dark. And Calvin McCulkin, now I remember. Yeah, that's the name. So I think Kaio Shirai loves to deceive readers. That's what he said in the interview articles anyway, that he loves to deceive readers. That's why he has so many plot twists and turns in the first arc of this series. And I can see that in Norman. Norman has this angelic sweet face, platinum blonde hair, nice aura. But then when you really get to know him, he's very manipulative, deceptive. And if it turns out in the wrong direction without morality, we know that he's gonna be like Light Yagami from Death Note, where he's half Grim Reaper, half God. But then, of course, I think that goes almost the same for Ray. But Ray is manipulative in a different source because he knows about the secrets of the house since he was a child, and the only comfort that he gained are the friendship of Norman and Emma. That's why he has some goodness in him, whereas Norman, in the 2 years that he's been experimented to Lambda, he was without Emma's love and without Faye's friendship. So without those, we know how Norman turned out. And Norman is asking here, become my spy now or become my spy this time. I'm not gonna be tired of reading TPN. It still excites me. I wanna read other things like Attack on Titan, Death Note, Tokyo Ghoul, because they're also suspense, I've heard, and even Made in Abyss. But then I've never been so in love with a manga before. But anyway, that's how very precious these characters are to me and my memory, that I would intake their dialogue, their expressions in myself, so I can be like sort of a reflection for the TPN. I love the flashback that it's shown here in the manga, where Norman is consulting Emma whether she would take that spy or traitor if that traitor was to betray them. And of course, it's Emma who we're talking to, and she outright say that she's gonna take them because she believes in him or her, and they grew up together. She realized with her mistake with Gilda. how I mean she realized with her Gilda, she suspected Gilda before. Gilda somehow gave her the opportunity to realize her suspicions are wrong, and that's why she believes in that person. So without Emma's guidance or consultation, Norman would not have made the decision right now. No, he would not have changed his mind to believe in Ray. I loved Norman's dialogue saying that I want to believe that you're my friend before you're my enemy. See this kind of quote unquote friendship among these three people, especially seen here between Norman and Ray. It's truly quote unquote special. And Norman's body language, he finally said that he wanted to believe Ray is his enemy. I mean, Ray is his friend before his enemy. Finally sat down, and it's as if his body language is telling me, "You're doing it for us." He surrendered to the idea that Ray is a good guy. And just look at the body language between Norman and Ray. Ray is crossing his legs, and Norman is just putting both his feet on the floor. So he believes that Ray has some goodness in him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used little Bernie or little Bunny so that Emma would find it, and so that Emma and Norman can realize the truth when they go to the gate. We figured out in this chapter how Ray manipulated Connie. He took little Bernie or little Bunny away from her and put it in a location or on the table so that Emma can give back or return little Bunny to Connie. I really loved the setup among these children. And then Norman is saying that you're not completely 100% our enemy, otherwise you wouldn't have hidden little Bernie, otherwise you wouldn't have you would not be controlling us the way that you're controlling us now. You're tweaking our plans for the better. You're trying to somehow not make us not be shipped right away, right off the bat. So you're not completely 100% as our enemy. You haven't even told Mama Isabella the real location of the ropes. So he really is being perceptive here that there's more to Ray than meets the eye. You really are not an enemy, are you? That's what Norman says. And then he actually asks, am I wrong? You're not giving fatally disadvantageous information, and the tracking devices can be broken, right? And then he asks the question, why did you become Mom Sheepdog? In the Japanese manga edition, I really love how in the Japanese manga edition there are preview panels or for the following volume, and if those panels or scenes are included in the English or in the Viz Media translation, I would be shocked because there are some dialogues there in the Japanese manga, in the edition of volume 1 Japanese manga, on the preview panels for the following volume 2, they're redacted. Some of the dialogues were redacted, so no one can see what Ray or what Norman is asking Ray. And I think this question came up in there. It was redacted so that it's not going to be spoiler for the readers. Why did you decide to become Mom Sheepdog? So I really love how they compare, or Ray compares himself to a sheepdog, because I think becoming a double agent is signified by sheepdog, like the livestock, the sheep, they're referred to the children. And Ray, who is the spy, is revealed to be the traitor. He's like the sheepdog. And then on chapter, I think 32 of the manga, it's revealed that Ray is reading the final book in the house, which is titled Cyrene, who is like associated with a goddess of shepherd or something like that in Greek mythology. I really love how these little hints are clues as to Ray's persona or personality in the manga. So that's my review for chapter 13. And also, like, the number 13, it's indicative or being, let's see, it's giving out this hint that it's like a bad number, like with this one, Ray being revealed to be the traitor. Number 13, bad luck, or whatever, or something like that. So anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great day. Bye.